Hello, and welcome to Health and Fitness Redefined. I'm your host, Anthony Amen. Join me today as we take a dive into the world of health and fitness, where we learn to overcome adversity, to pick back versus addiction, and see health and fitness in a whole new light. We've been on a roll for the last few weeks, talking to some amazing chiropractors who really fit very well in this space. They adapt, they help heal, they help open your mind up to different types of techniques. So I'm really excited to have this new chiropractor on who's going to talk to us a little bit more about the spine, the nerves. He has a whole new brand new technique. He teaches chiropractors, MDs, and all that, his awesome techniques. But before we do that, don't forget, guys, Redefine Fitness now has some online training programs. That's right. If you're looking for some online personal training where you're going to get access to our wonderful personal trainers, get customized workouts fit to your schedule, everything's going to be tracked, and then bi-weekly meetings with us to help redo your next 2 weeks. Go check that out. We also have an amazing online nutrition program. It is not a diet. You guys know how much I hate diets. It is all about nutrition. It's all done through me. We talk about your total calories, your macros, and instead of saying eat all these foods that you're never going to be able to do for the rest of your life, I'm going to teach you how to eat foods you enjoy and get you back on track so you can learn and develop habits to eat healthy for a long, long time. But without further ado, let's welcome to the show, Pete. Pete, it's an absolute honor to have you on today.
Thanks, Anthony. Super psyched to be here and ready to explore whatever you want to explore.
Yeah, I'm excited. We've had a couple chiropractors on, so it's been a nice little ride these last few months talking to you guys. So just tell us a little bit, though, about kind of why you got started, what made you want to become a chiropractor, and then what made you want to start Zone School.
Excellent. So basically how I got started, I was born and raised in New York City. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. And when I was a kid, I grew up in kind of a naturally oriented family, meaning that, you know, most people in America and probably the world, they go to a medical doctor. That's their primary doctor. But for whatever reason, my mom, I don't know how she figured all this out, but we had a chiropractor, a naturopath, and a homeopath. Those were our three doctors. So, I mean, we were healthy, but, you know, when we needed any kind of doctoring, we had a chiropractor, homeopath, and a naturopath. So I kind of grew up in this natural environment as far as that aspect goes. And as much as I loved it, I never really thought I would be a chiropractor. It didn't really occur to me, quite frankly. And then I went to college. I went to Brandeis University in the Boston area. I was an economics major because that's kind of what I thought I might want to do. And then after I graduated college, like I said, in the Boston area, I came back to New York City, lived in Brooklyn, and I worked in business for a few years. And I kind of started thinking maybe I'll become a chiropractor. So I had an excellent mentor who practiced for 45 years in Brooklyn. He was a real legend at the time. His healing abilities were really unique, and that was the chiropractor that I had grown up going to. And he kind of inspired me to go to chiropractic school. So I went to chiropractic school. I entered chiropractic school in 1993, and I graduated in 97. Now, as far as Zone School, which was the second part of your question, it kind of went down like this. So, you know, when most people think of chiropractic, they think of like neck pain, back pain, musculoskeletal issues of different types. And, you know, obviously some chiropractors help people with different things. So maybe there's someone who goes to their chiropractor and, you know, their digestion is bothering them. And after a series of adjustments, wow, their digestion gets better. Or maybe they're having sinus problems, which clear up after a series of adjustments. So things like that can certainly happen. But 99% of chiropractors in this world, if you walk in their office and you interview everyone in their waiting room and say, hey, why are you here? Like, why'd you stop by? Like, what are you doing here today? 99% of them are there for neck and back pain. So although there are chiropractors that understand the bigger picture of what chiropractic possibly can help with, the bottom line is 99% of the people in their waiting room are coming to them for musculoskeletal problems. So with that said, because I had a very unique path of learning, and I didn't learn any of this in chiropractic school. I just went to chiropractic school to get my DC degree. But because I had a very unique path of learning over these years, from the 1990s until now, 80% of my patients come to me for non-musculoskeletal stuff. So the people coming to me are coming to heal their thyroid, their liver, their blood sugar, their blood pressure, their uterus, their ovaries, their lungs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I just do it with my hands, just my hands and me and them in 2 minutes. So I'm not giving any supplements, or not that any of that is not good. It's great, but I don't do that. Just me, my hands and them in 2 minutes. And they're healing from all these organic problems. And not to mention the 20% that come from musculoskeletal to me, most of them have been to 3 other chiropractors, 2 acupuncturists, a medical doctor, and they're still suffering with whatever that musculoskeletal issue is. And they come and in 5-6 visits are completely healed. So anyway, having had this healing success, for lack of a better way to put it, having had this healing success with the non-musculoskeletal, which is very unique in chiropractic, and the musculoskeletal at a higher level, I wanted to teach other chiropractors. And this brings me to what you asked about Zone School. So I decided about 6 years ago or so to open a school for chiropractors so I could teach them to do what I do. And right now we have about 1,400 members. I've also let in other doctors and healers since then. So any doctor or healer, we have chiropractors, acupuncturists, naturopaths, medical doctors, Reiki masters, physical therapists. Anyone who's a doctor or healer of any type is now welcome to join Zone School. And the Zone School basic course is about 50 hours. It's an online program. So when they join, whatever they know already from wherever they went to school or whatever they learned, then they get exposed to 50 hours of me teaching them online, which they can watch 5 minutes a day, or they can watch 2 hours a day, or whatever they want. But they have lifetime access to this 50 hours. And they start producing what the world calls miracles in healing. They start achieving healing results, which, people would look at from the outside and say, well, it's a miracle. I can't, it's hard to believe that even happens, but that's what happens.
So let's go through a couple of examples and kind of get a little more of understanding of what it is you're looking for, doing, and that kind of stuff. So what's a typical patient coming in looking to get done when they come see you specifically?
Well, I like to just go with results, because as you know, Anthony, theories and philosophies are a dime a dozen. Someone could have a very interesting philosophy about whatever. It could be about I heard you talking before about eating. It could be about a way to eat or a way to exercise. 2 things that you're an expert at. You're an expert at both those, exercising and eating, right? So there's many theories and philosophies on this is the way to exercise or this is the way to eat. But at the end of the day, what are the results? What are the results? When this person ate this way or this person exercised this way, what happened to them? Did they become very healthy? So that's when you ask what people are kind of looking for, and what people are looking for results. If someone comes to me and they say to me, hey, Dr. Pete, they tell me they've had migraine headaches 7 days a week for the last 10 years. And before they came to me, they went to 3 other chiropractors and acupuncturists and natural whatever, and they still have migraine headaches 7 days a week. The only thing I'm interested in doing is making their headaches go away forever. That's all I'm interested in. So if they come to me, let's say they come to me once a week. Let's just use that as a random example. Let's say they come once a week. They come to me once a week. We'll just call it for 6 weeks. I'm just making this up because everyone obviously heals at their own rate. But let's just say someone comes to me once a week for 6 weeks, and they're sitting in front of me saying, man, Dr. Pete, it's like a miracle. I don't know what happened. And they're telling me they're headache free. Well, that's good enough for me. Now, next thing, let's say someone comes to me and tells me they have acid reflux or heartburn. They're eating their food, they get acid reflux, heartburn, their digestion is a mess. And let's say they come to me, once or twice a week, 5, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, whatever it is. then they're sitting there telling me, hey, Dr. Pete, like they're telling me their digestion is perfect. All those things they had are deleted out of their life. That's good enough for me. So I just want to start the answer, Anthony, by saying results come first. Before and afters are pretty obvious, right? Like we know the before and then we know the after. And I'll just give one musculoskeletal example. Let's say someone comes to me and tells me that they've had a low back condition for 10 years, but they've got adjusted. They've went to chiropractors and they're kind of like managing this low back problem. And it's managed. It's managed. So they might even get adjusted once a week all year round just to kind of manage this low back problem. It's not really being fixed, but it's, they're a lot better off than they would be. But I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in managing anything. I'm interested in fixing stuff. So they tell me they've had a low back problem for 10 years, getting adjusted once a week for the whole 10 years. Then they come to me. My interest is after, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 adjustments for their low back to be healed permanently forever. So the first part of the answer is what I'm looking for is results. That's number one. The second thing, the way the zone technique works is, and by the way, the website of Zone School kind of explains the zone. So if anyone's like really interested in the details, it's zoneschoolofhealing.com. So if someone goes to zoneschoolofhealing.com, they can, play around and see what the zones are about. But I'll just briefly say the zone technique divides the body into 6 systems, which is the glandular system, which is all of our glands, of course. Our eliminative system, that's everything that eliminates our toxins, sinuses, lungs, kidneys, bladder, intestines. Nerve system, brain, spinal cord, and of course, all the peripheral nerves. Digestive system, everything that digests and assimilates the food, liver, gallbladder, stomach, pancreas, etc. Muscle system, all the muscles, tendons, ligaments, etc. And lastly is the circulatory system. That's obviously everything that's responsible for the fluid flow in our body, the blood flow and stuff. So the way the zone technique looks at things, if anyone has any problem, some of the ones I mentioned, headaches, digestive problems, it could be a woman who has terrible period cramps. Every month, she just is in bed the first day of her period. She can't even get out of bed. She's suffering with terrible cramps. It could be panic attacks, whatever it is, but whatever problem they're having, or it could be neck pain, whatever. It's due to a disturbance in one or more of the 6 systems, because every cell in the body is in those 6 systems I mentioned. I mentioned the 6 systems. Every cell in the body is in one of those 6 systems. So any problem anyone could be having is due to a disturbance in one or more of those 6 systems. And when they come to someone who's trained in the zone technique, which obviously I am, and of course I teach people in my school, there's a very easy way to determine which of the 6 systems is not balanced, and then in a very gentle manner, interact with the body for 2 minutes, and then reset the systems in question. And then you keep doing that until all the systems are reset, basically, and then most likely they're all better.
Can you walk us through that process? So how would you be able to tell which system, and then how to evaluate that system? What kind of tests you're doing specifically?
Sure. So there's actually points on the back of the head. It's on the superior nuchal line. And the points in the superior nuchal line relate to 6 brain centers, which control those 6 systems that I mentioned. So there's like a glandular brain center, an eliminative brain center, a nerve brain center, a digestive brain center, a muscle brain center, and a circulatory brain center. And you can feel the points. Well, someone who's trained in this can feel the points in the back of the head and know which of those brain centers are balanced and which are not. Now, Anthony, I'm sure you would know that if a brain center is balanced, there's 2 things that are happening. But if a brain center is not balanced, these 2 things are not happening. I'm going to tell your audience what those 2 things are. A brain center that's balanced, the first thing, it can actually monitor the system it controls. Like, we'll just take the glandular system as a random example. If the glandular brain center is balanced, it's monitoring the glands properly, the brain. It also, the second thing it can do is send the proper signals from the brain to those glands to either get healthy if they need to heal, or remain healthy, maintain their health. But a brain center that's not balanced cannot do those 2 things. A, it cannot monitor the system it controls because it's not balanced, doesn't know what's going on in that system. And two, or B, is even if it was balanced, it can't send the right signals because, let me rephrase that. Even if they were able to monitor the system, they can't send the right signals because it's not balanced. So a balanced brain center is important. The back of the head tells us which brain centers are balanced, which are not. Now, once we've identified which brain centers are not balanced, there's points in the spinal cord, and this is an important thing I'm going to say. There's points in the spinal cord that relate to the brain center in question, which a chiropractor would stimulate gently with a chiropractic adjustment. An acupuncturist could put a needle there. Another kind of healer could touch those areas gently. But if you know where to stimulate in the spinal cord, you will heal the brain centers in question. Now, here's a really interesting thing, which I wasn't going to mention today because, I figured, wow, this is, in different kind of contexts or shows, I would mention this. But when I was coming on, this was the last thing on my mind. But when I heard your intro that you've interviewed some chiropractors, I will mention this. So there's an idea in chiropractic. It's called the safety pin cycle. That's what it's called, the safety pin cycle. The safety pin cycle says this. It's pretty much taught in, I think, every chiropractic school in the world. Maybe some don't teach it. I don't know. But the safety pin cycle says this. I'm going to try to use my fingers here to demonstrate it. Here's the brain. Here's someone's brain. Again, what I'm saying right now is not zone technique. This is just chiropractic 101. Nothing to do with the zone technique. So here's the brain, and the brain is sending signals down the spinal cord, out of the nerves to the different parts of the body. That's how the body is set up. Now, a chiropractor would say, if the spinal column is out of place, they would find the different points in the spinal column that are out of place, and then they would put them in place. Those are called, in chiropractic terms, subluxations. Now, let me explain what a subluxation is. A luxation, it just means dislocation. Like a medical doctor would look at an x-ray and say, oh, there's a dislocation there. But subluxation, sub means under. So subluxation means it's not quite a luxation, not quite a luxation, not quite a dislocation, but it's still out of place a little bit. Now, a medical doctor would look at that x-ray with no dislocations and say, no, it looks fine. There's no dislocations. Everything's fine. But a chiropractor says there may not be dislocations, but there's a subluxation, meaning it's still a little out of place, not enough to be a dislocation, but it's out of place. And presumably, chiropractors believe that bone being a little out of place puts pressure on a nerve. So that's why they say, let's put these bones back in place in the spinal column to open up the nerve flow, because that subluxation is blocking the nerve. So that is what's known as the safety pin cycle, because it's like chiropractors believe that when they put the bones back in place, it's like re-clipping the safety pin. So everything works in the proper cycle, from the brain down the cord to the nerves to the organs or the cells, and then back to the nerve to the cord to the brain, or whatever. But that's the safety pin cycle. That's chiropractic 101. So why do I mention that? Because remember, Anthony, the chiropractor is saying the brain is trying to send a signal to the cells, the muscles, whatever. And if the bone's out of place, that signal from the brain is being interfered with. So by the time that signal gets to where it's going, it's not the proper signal because of the nerve interference from the bone being out of place. But the zone technique is not quite saying that. I mean, the zone technique doesn't disagree with that. Zone technique would say, okay, that's fine. But the zone technique would say, what if the brain is unbalanced in the first place? What if the brain is sending the wrong signal to begin with? So just because you relieve the subluxation, big deal. All you've done is taken a faulty brain signal, if the brain was unbalanced, and you've just opened that up to wherever it's going, which is why, Anthony, plenty of people go to chiropractors, get all their so-called subluxations adjusted, and they still have thyroid problems and uterus problems and blood pressure problems and even muscle problems. But when you get the brain balanced, because the zone technique is not an intersegmental bone moving technique, it's a spinal cord stimulation technique to heal the brain. When the brain's sending the right signals, then these healings can take place. So I just wanted to add that.
No, it was very, very interesting when going through all that. I mean, that whole chiropractic 101 makes total sense. And I think even just simpler terms for people that have no idea what the hell we're talking about is if you're in a house and your main box is in the garage, whatever, like mine is, and there's any interference with the wires going to maybe an outlet. Maybe that wire is not going just to one outlet, it's going to multiple light switches and all that stuff. If there's a little interference on it somewhere down the line, you're either not going to get enough power or it's not going to work at all. And your brain works the same exact way as electricity does. Because that's all it really is. It's just electric signals that your brain's shooting down through your nervous system to give your body signals about what to do, where to move, telling your cells where to go, telling him where to heal, what all that fun stuff. That's all just through electric signals shooting down and receiving. So it's sending and receiving information rapidly from all across our body and process this information. So that signal gets some type of interrupted, it could cause issues. And that's a huge thing, period. It's really cool.
Excellent description. You should start lecturing at a chiropractic college, man. That was pretty damn good. You sound better than my teachers in chiropractic school. That was really good.
I love the house analogy. Like I always say, like, all right, your GI system is basically your plumbing. You look at home with plumbing, it's got to go through, and if the pipes get clogged and it can't go out to your cesspool, then you have to force something.
You could say the circulation is like the water system and the nerves are like the electrical system. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, appreciate it. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're looking at, guys. Just to give you a little more of an example if you're not familiar with the health and fitness world. I want to talk a little more about your techniques on the skull. And you explained getting your brain sending the proper signals, because it's something that I'm not familiar with, and I would love to hear a little more specifically about how you actually process that, because it's intriguing. But we're going to hop on this on the second half of the show, guys. So I'm just going to take a quick word from our sponsor, and we will be right. For us, we know what it's like to feel unhealthy, depressed, and downright defeated. We want to show others there is a right way, and through fitness, you could do anything you set your mind to. Fitness can give you that motivation, confidence, energy you need to bridge that mental gap and prevent you from missing important life events. We understand it's about feeling better, living longer, and being good examples for our kids. We understand this because we live it. And for us, that's the redefined difference. Hey guys, and welcome back. We have Pete here from Zone School talking all about different nerve signals, chiropractic techniques, and specifically his Zone School technique, which is more from kind of what I understand. It's teaching the brain how to send proper signals throughout your body. We just explained on the other side how your brain's constantly responsible for sending and receiving techniques. So like signals, sorry, talking about chiropractic techniques now. But so constantly processing signals. So he was talking about how do you make sure that it's sending the right types of signals. So I want to let you explain that a little more in detail about what exactly kind of specific methods you're doing and what exactly you're looking for going forward.
Excellent. So the body is like an electrical machine. And just like a car battery has a positive pole and a negative pole, our brain is the positive pole of our body, and our spinal cord is the negative pole of our body. And there are certain points in the negative pole that relate to certain points in the positive pole. So for example, I'll just give a random example. Let's take the circulatory system. There's a part of the brain in both caudate nuclei in the brain, and it controls the circulatory apparatus, heart, veins, arteries, etc. Now, if I feel the back of the head and I can see that brain center is not balanced because there's connections from these points in the superior nuclear line to the brain, and it tells me that needs balancing. Then the 4 points in the cord that I would stimulate, I'm just giving this as an example, are C6, T2, T10, L1. Those are the 4 levels of the spinal cord that I would stimulate, C6, T2, T10, L1. Now, all 5 other brain centers, I just mentioned the circulatory, there's 5 other brain centers, they have different sets of 4 points in the cord, which is the negative pole. Now, if I as a chiropractor, but like I said, other doctors and healers can stimulate the cord in their own way. But if I, as a chiropractor, adjust those levels of the cord, but again, adjust is the bone, but I'm really stimulating the cord of C6, T2, T10, L1, it sends energy up the cord to that brain center. That brain center heals, and now that brain center becomes balanced and is able to send the proper signals out. Now, listen, I have a great example for you, Anthony, which again, I wasn't thinking of, but your question stimulated it in my mind. Let's just say someone has let's take an easy one. Let's just say, we mentioned before, this woman comes in, she has terrible period cramps. The first day of her period is just miserable. She's taking Advil or whatever she's doing to kind of tolerate this terrible pain. Well, we know that her reproductive organs, uterus, ovaries, whatever, are not balanced. Something's not right there because, presumably something's not right there because their cycle is terrible. So if I feel the back of their head and I find, we'll call it the glandular system, needs work, well, then I know that the part of the brain that controls the glands is not sending the right signals to the glands, and the reproductive organs comes under that system. So I would stimulate the 4 points for the glands. I'm not going to go through them. It doesn't matter. I went through the circulatory points, but there's 4 different points for the glands. I would stimulate them, sends energy up the cord, resets that brain center. Now the part of the brain that controls the glands is sending the right signals to the glands. The reproductive organs get the right signals. They can reset themselves. The cells can regenerate properly. And guess what? In a month or 2, that patient's like, yeah, I had my cycle. I felt nothing. I feel perfect. I feel awesome. Remember, this is the obvious before and after. Because even if someone's listening to the show, Anthony, they're like, I don't know about these brain tests, whatever. This woman had debilitating period cramps. She got, a month and a half, 2 months of zone adjustments. And now her cycle is perfect. I mean, what is there to talk about? Nothing. I mean, results are results. They trump everything. So that's an example. Now, let's take another one. Oh, by the way, back to the glandular one, not to mention the rest of her glands can start functioning right, because that brain center doesn't only govern the reproductive organs, it also governs every gland in the body. So now all her glands can be healthy, whether they were showing up before or not symptomatically. Now, next thing, let's take, let's see, what's a good one? Let's take the gallbladder. Someone's coming in, they're having kind of gallbladder attacks. They go to the gastroenterologist, they're in a lot of pain. The doctor's not exactly sure, what's even caused it or what to do about it. But nonetheless, they have a tangible, concrete gallbladder problem, clearly. And, and at least not only does their medical doctor examine their gallbladder and see it has a problem, but they're having gallbladder attacks. I mean, they're in pain, they're suffering, maybe daily. So we check the back of their head. Let's say the digestive system shows up. We know the digestive part of the brain, which by the way is in the 4th ventricle of the brain, is sending the wrong signals to the gallbladder. The gallbladder is trying to function right, but it can't. We stimulate I'll give those 4 points, C4, T4, T8, L4. We stimulate the 4 points for the digestion, resets that brain center, might take a few sessions. Now that brain center is sending the right signal out to the gallbladder. And guess what? The gallbladder heals. No more gallbladder attacks. And they go to the doctor. The doctor examines their gallbladder, however they do it, and says, yeah, your gallbladder is totally healthy now. So that's some more specific examples.
I got a hard question for you.
Yeah, I like hard questions.
All right. And this is just the same thing that's going to be kind of repeating through my head. And I really wanted to kind of work me through this and explain it. Are we taking the assumption that these issues, the period cramps, the gallbladder, are all caused and sent by nerve signals setting down? There's not an outlying issue that's outside of the nervous system, outside of the signals being sent by the brain, that's causing these people's problems. We're just assuming that it is through these nerve issues that they're having, these signals their brain's sending.
Well, let me give you a multi-part answer. That is a freaking awesome question. Hopefully I can give an awesome answer. I'll do my best.
I hope so.
I'll do my best. So let me give you a multi-part answer to that question. The first part of the answer is this. So what really caused the problem in the first place? Because that's really what part of your question is. Why are people sick? Why do people get period cramps? Why do people's gallbladders break down? What causes it in the first place? Well, I would say, after helping people since 1993 heal, I would say that 90+%, I would say 95+%, but we'll just say 90+% of what causes people's bodies to break down is from negative emotions. That's what I'll first say. Fear, worry, anger, jealousy, hate. That's what is the cause of disease 95%. And when they're dominated by these negative emotions, it does disintegrate their body, and it just shows up where it shows up. We can call it the brain or the cells or whatever. So that's number one. Number two is the question is, how does someone heal then? How does someone heal, and what methods can help them heal, and what are these methods doing? What are these methods addressing? Kind of like what you asked. Is it really just a nerve thing, a brain thing? Well, here's the cool part. The zone technique, and by the way, the zone, just so you know, if this is a little, I don't know what you call this. If this is zone school, only this much is the zone technique. All the rest of this stuff are the high-level principles of healing, which I don't think are taught anywhere else that I know. So I'm teaching high-level metaphysical principles of healing, which let people get these miraculous results. The zone technique is just a little part of it, just the physical aspect of the technique. But with that said, let's explore that, Anthony. Let's just say someone has asthma. Let's just say someone has asthma. Very easy to fix, by the way, but let's just say someone has asthma. And a chiropractor, let's even take the zone technique out of the equation. A chiropractor says, oh, they have asthma because their T3 is out of place and the nerve to their lungs and bronchial tubes is interfered with. So they're going to adjust their T3, open up the nerves to the lungs and bronchial tubes, and now they're not going to have asthma anymore. Let's just say that happens. Well, it would seem that the cure, or let's not use the word cure, it would seem that the solution for asthma is a chiropractic adjustment of T3. But we know that acupuncture, which has been around for 2,500 years, acupuncture fixes asthma. They're not adjusting the T3 bone. So was it really the nerve to the lungs and bronchial tubes that was the problem? I don't know. Seems like it wasn't, because the acupuncturist is putting needles in people to open up what's called meridians to help them breathe better. And they do. They have no more asthma. Now, you could go to an American Indian herbalist, and they have some herb that American Indians have used for hundreds of years, and you take it, and now you have no more asthma. So I guess it wasn't necessarily the nerve or the acupuncture. Now, Ayurvedic medicine out of India, it's been around for 4,500 years, long time. They fix asthma with their diet and their Ayurvedic herbs and stuff. So the point is, Anthony, there's many paths to healing. The zone technique and the principles with it are the best path I know, but there are many other paths, because obviously there are people who have never experienced a zone technique session, and they heal from all these things with an acupuncturist or a herbalist or whatever. So that is why I said in zone school, a little part of it is a zone technique, but 90% of zone school are high-level principles of healing, which encompass and supersede all these methods of healing. And then you understand, why does acupuncture fix asthma? Why does Ayurvedic medicine fix asthma? Why does American Indian herbology fix asthma? Why does maybe some chiropractic, not even zone technique, fix asthma? And that's something that we can't really go into in a short time we have together, but in the 50 hours of material, they will understand the common denominator of all healing.
I like it. And I have another hard question for you.
How did I do with the first one?
That was good.
Good.
It ties directly into this question.
Yeah, I'm 1 for 1 so far. Okay.
Yeah. So you mentioned it, like the first thing you said out of your mouth was talking about emotions and how it directly affects our body. And for those that are super analytical like I am. I was a math major, so like before I went to
It's my
psychology,
worst subject, so don't ask me any math questions.
yeah, it just my time, my brain thinks everything's analytical. Everything has to be written down, shown proof, whatever. And it's been shown time and time again how motions directly affect our bodies, even to the extreme level, which we've talked about before in the show. If you look at the way our red blood cells vibrate based upon our emotional level, they vibrate a wave of a lower frequency when we're upset and sad than they do when we're happy, excited, and in love, all those types of emotions. It's directly affected. If you want to look at your serotonin levels and just track it through that way, that's how you get your body up, moving around, and feeling better. So I agree. Now, this is where the question comes into play, because you went through a bunch of different examples to cure asthma, let's say. Let's say that maybe the brain, through these emotions and this cycle, is the asthma is actually caused from, or maybe exacerbated from, someone being depressed, which is making it worse, and they're constantly thinking about it and obsessing over it, so they're constantly feeling it, which I see all the time in my industry. My shoulder hurts, everything they do, they're always thinking about their shoulder, and every time they move it, it hurts, and then we just say, you're healed, and then they just stop thinking about it, and then, oh my God, it's starting to feel better. And we call that, I didn't do anything, just call it the placebo effect, because now I took a something and I introduced this, okay, you're healed, you're better, you're good. And I convinced this person that they were. Now all of a sudden they start feeling better because they don't have those negative emotions and that obsession tied over that thing, thinking about it time and time again, or like the period cramps. Oh, here it comes. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. And then it comes bad. So that's kind of where I'm kind of sitting with that. I think you know my question now. How do you tell the difference between convincing somebody, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because if I can tell you you're healed and you're healed, that's awesome. That's a win. I don't know how people get upset about the placebo effect. If I can tell you that this pill, even though it's just literally water, will get rid of your issues, and it actually gets rid of your issues because you convinced yourself that it does, then that's a win in every healer's, MD's, whatever's life. So walk us through that a little bit.
Okay, so a couple things. So first of all, like you said, results are results. So let's just say, I'll give you an example. Let's say someone comes to me and they have a condition that no one else could help. Really? I mean, no one. By the way, I didn't mention, Anthony. I should mention this, and it's in the context of what I'm about to say when I say that no one else could help someone with something. Most chiropractors, Anthony, I think you'd agree, their patient base lives probably within 45 minutes of their office. It's like they're here, and probably almost everyone who comes to them is, in a 45-minute radius of their office. And they might have one patient who loves them. They drive 2 hours, but most chiropractors, most medical doctors, most acupuncturists, most healers of any type, their patients are about 45 minutes away from them or less. So, and I'm going to tell you something, and there's a reason I'm telling you this. And I'll tell you, first I'll tell you what, then I'll tell you the reason I'm bringing it up. In the many years of practice that I've done, I've had people fly into me from 30 different countries and cities around the world. People have flown into me from Guam, Hawaii, New York, Chicago, Texas, Europe, whatever. So, and then not only have people flown into me from 30 different countries and cities around the world, I've had people drive. I've had over of my many patients, I've had over 200 patients drive 4 hours each way to see me. That's 8 hours of driving for 3 minutes with me. That should tell you something about the results. So why am I talking about this? Why do I mention that? I'm mentioning it because the results are so freaking powerful that people are flying in for this stuff. Now, so when I say, yeah, someone comes to me, maybe they flew to me, they've tried, 3 other chiropractors and this or whatever, and seemingly have like a liver problem, something that's unsolvable up until then. They went to the Mayo Clinic, they went unsolvable. And then they come to me and heal. Totally healed, objectively healed. They go back to the doctor, they take blood tests, they are totally healed. They feel amazing, and it's objectively confirmed they're healed. Let's just say someone says, Pete, I wonder, you're pretty confident, and people know, that people are flying to you from all over the world. Maybe it just created this placebo effect around you where people are just like expecting to get better. How much of what actually occurred in their healing was from this zone technique on a physical level, and how much of it was even an inadvertent placebo effect? Let's say someone said that to me. My attitude is, I don't know and I don't care, because this person had a severe liver problem. Now they don't. Like, I don't care. Like, this person had a severe liver problem. They went to the Mayo Clinic. They could not help them. They went to acupuncture. They went to a naturopath. They went to a chiropractor. They came to me. They got all better. So that's that. So the first part of my answer is, I don't know or care. But since you asked it, I'm still going to go into that further. The next thing I'll say is this. If it was just as simple as, let's say it was let's say it was that simple, and I just, in my zone school, I said, zone school, it's not 50 the base, by the way, because zone school, we have advanced courses too. I have about 400 hours of material, but just the basic course is 50 hours. So let's say I said, I'm not going to make zone school 50 hours. I'll make it 10 minutes, and I'll just tell everyone, look, when your patient comes in, just tell them you're going to do XYZ, they're going to get better. I mean, if it was that simple, then it would be that simple, but it's not that simple. There's an intricacy to contacting a patient's subconscious and having them accept the idea of health and healing, which ultimately, in some loose way, is connected to what people call the placebo effect, even though the problem with the word placebo effect is that it has about 30 different definitions, depending who you ask about the placebo effect. So I always hesitate to talk about the placebo effect because it's defined in 30 different ways. But with that said, there is a common denominator of healing. And when I'm just brushing over it. This subject deserves a 20-hour talk. I'm just brushing over it in a couple minutes. But when a doctor or healer knows how to contact a patient's subconscious, and certain ideas are accepted in that subconscious of the patient, that most likely that new idea of healing and health will manifest in the patient's body. And you alluded to it before, when a patient's suffering with XYZ, and you say, no, I'm going to do this, you're going to be all better, and they just accept that and they get all better. Now, there was a really interesting example. I don't think you're familiar with this, but it's quite interesting. I read this, what I'm telling you, I read it in a British medical journal. So what I'm going to tell you, I read it in a British medical journal. And it was about a guy in England, I believe. And I think the year was about 1900. So we're talking roughly 120 something years ago, right? So around 1900. It's a true story. There was a prisoner on death row in England. And some of the medical authorities in England at the time were kind of understanding some of this stuff with the subconscious and, the effect on the body. So they were doing some experiments on people to kind of like see how this works. So of course, this guy was on death row. They were going to execute him. So they figured, we'll just experiment on him because they're going to kill him anyway. I'm not saying it was right or wrong. I'm just repeating the story. But anyway, what they did was they told this guy that they were going to cut a little slit in the back of his neck, and then he was going to bleed to death. That's what they told him. So what they did was they blindfolded him, and they did cut a slit in the back of his neck. But they sealed it immediately. So he didn't lose any blood, or he might have lost a drop of blood when they slit it, but he either lost no blood at all or 1 drop of blood. They sealed it. He didn't know they sealed it. He was blindfolded, and they dripped water over the cut. So he had a sensation of bleeding to death down his back, and they had medical doctors observing this, whatever. So 2 things happened. Number 1 is he died in 6 minutes. He was dead in 6 minutes. And number 2, in those 6 minutes, his body displayed all those incremental steps of someone bleeding to death. So, of course, that's a very negative, kind of sad example, but it shows you the power of an idea accepted in the subconscious mind, because that was very powerful. They bypassed his conscious mind. I mean, he was almost like under hypnosis with them, and then he accepted that. He accepted it first consciously, but it went into his subconscious, and that's what happened. So, on a positive note, if a patient can accept an idea of health, their body can heal immediately. In fact, there's a religious shrine in Lourdes, France. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but Lourdes or Lourdes, France. And these people have this idea, which I'm not saying is not true. I'm just saying they have this idea that they're at this religious place, and the atmosphere is a holy atmosphere, and they have, like, I think, some water you can go in. The water that you can kind of bathe in is like a holy water, and they're famous. They have like all these crutches and all stuff like pinned on the wall, because people come in, they're like half dead, and they have this experience in the water, whatever. They just like walk right out. So that's like So of course, that's a very powerful idea. They think God is somehow healing them, which I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm just saying it's a very powerful idea to accept. And when they accept that idea, their bodies have these miraculous healings of A, things that are not supposed to be able to heal, that heal, or B, things that are supposed to heal that take X amount of months, they heal in 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's the answer. That was a great.
Two for two. My answer.
That was a great explanation of the power of the subconscious, and it shows time and time again. And I didn't know about the prison example, so that was a really good one. That because you hear about that stuff all the time, people convince themselves, and this is XYZ, blah blah blah, definitely, and then it's just so not true, and that they just don't understand what's going on around them. But Pete, we're actually running out of time, so I'm going to ask you the final 2 questions, man. I ask everyone, which the first one is, if you were to summarize this episode in 1 or 2 sentences, what would be your take-home message to everybody?
I'd say informative and fun.
Informative and fun. I love that. Great one. And then the second one, which is the easiest one for you, the whole entire show, I promise, is how can people find you, get a hold of you? How can they find out more about Zone School? Take it away.
Excellent. So anyone who's listening to this who is a chiropractor or any kind of doctor or healer who wants to join Zone School, go to zoneschoolofhealing.com. Zoneschoolofhealing.com. You can find out more about Zone School. You can enroll right on the homepage. You can join the school, which gives you immediate and lifetime access to about 50 hours of me teaching you. It's an online program. You could be anywhere in the world. And I also, on the website, if you click on live events, you will see that I do teach live events. They are optional and supplemental. However, they're incredible. You can attend a live event also if you want. And if you are a lay person who is not a doctor or healer of any type, maybe you're an accountant or something, but you're listening to Anthony's show, and you want to experience the Zone technique, we do have also on zoneschoolofhealing.com a directory which gives you a directory of certified Zone School practitioners. And you can go to the directory, and I believe you put in your zip code, and it will tell you who's close to you if you want to experience it.
That's amazing. Good to know. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us in this week's episode of Health and Fitness Redefined. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button and join us next week as we dive deeper into this ever-changing field. And remember, fitness is medicine. Until next time.